Hey, friends. Welcome to Think Out Loud with me, a chat cast produced, hosted, and humbly offered by yours truly, Natalie Peterson, from my neck of the woods to you in yours. This podcast is my big, hairy, audacious quit giving such a shit effort to turn years of chatter, wondering, silent suffering, and physical and mental close calls into constructive and enlightening conversation with others. I'm tired of bottling it all up. I want to think out loud with you. So, yep, I'm taking full advantage of the universally accepted, irrevocable license to be curious and held by every single one of us. Perhaps in my own search for connection, community, and congruence, I help you find your voice, ignite your curiosity, nudge you just a bit in your own favor. I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. Time is our most valuable asset, and your sharing minutes and moments with me in my space is a tremendous honor. My only ask is that we all work to support one another with healthy, helpful boundaries set and honored. And on the topic of format, this show isn't meant for younger ears. We dive into pretty heavy subject matter, and I'm not one to censor much of anything. Connection, conversation, that's what matters to me. I hope you'll fixate on that and mind your kiddos in the background. Oh, hey, yeah, I should mention too. Yeah, this podcast, yeah, it's a work in progress using shared space, time, and bandwidth with others in remote settings, which means the sounds in the background may get interesting. Grace and patience, people. That's what I ask of you. Thank you. So, with that, let's go. Let's dive in. Let's get to getting and find an amazing human to think out loud with me. Okie dokie. Hello, friends. We are here at the top of Think Out Loud with me, an episode with Amy Kay. And I am going to just jump right in and let us explain in real time how we know each other. And then we'll get into the topic of mental fitness. Amy and I, when did we meet, Amy?
Oh, Lord, I'd have to look it up. It was it was more than a few.
It was more than a few years ago. Yeah. I think I was transitioning from Los Angeles to Denver
Yeah.
and the hullabaloo of that. Have you always stayed planted where?
I've been in California since I've been a coach. So I've been in California for 22 years, which is unbelievable to me. But
Yeah, it's been a long. And you are, and tell just coaching
So I'm
what?
a
How do
growth
I
and
know?
leadership coach with a stubborn, eclectic, non-cookie cutter, non-niched practice where someone just told me, you don't have a demographic, you have a psychographic. I'm like,
That's cool.
that's it. It's I love growers. They might be a college student, they might be a CEO, they might be somebody who's looking to redesign their life in their 80s and everything in
Because it
between.
can happen. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you, Natalie, we've come in and out of each other's lives over the years and
Yeah.
different moments in time. And sometimes I work with someone once and I'm like, off you go
Yeah.
grow, you're
Yeah.
done. So I adore my work. It has been my passion, but also my own personal savior in a way. It's my spiritual practice to be truth. Yeah, that's my
I
shtick.
appreciate
And
that.
I've got last couple of years, once COVID hit, me and everybody else started a podcast. It's called The Growth Moment, and that has been a blast. So COVID has been a very fertile time for me. A lot of new offerings and things that just because I knew it was time to give a lot to the world.
Well, you deserve all of it. My experience of you, you're a chapter ahead in so many ways.
I like
And
that.
I look at you. Well, I do. I mean, you were a coach to me, professionally and personally, and that came to be. But I also just grew to really appreciate you as a human. And just, yeah, you're right. You have this. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
growth. I appreciate growers, but I also just appreciate it is a click. You gotta,
Yeah,
it has to happen. And
for
I'm
sure.
glad I got that. Yay. I clicked
Well,
with you.
and don't you love when you find your kindred spirit, when you find who you're supposed to hang with and think out loud for a while
Yeah,
with.
absolutely.
I'm not right for everybody and everyone's not right for me. The whole, to me, the whole trick, and when we talk about business like marketing or finding the right job, building your business, blah, 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 I am constantly coming back to, wait, it's not marketing, it's not money, it's being on purpose, doing
Yes.
your work with the people you really want to do it with. Marketing and all that jazz is just a way to find
Tactics. Yeah.
that.
Tactics. Yep. Yep.
So cool.
Yeah. So much has developed and shifted and shape shifted over the last several years. And I still keep waiting for like the black hole of it to kind of stop, right? Like we keep saying that, do you remember? But then the remembering part keeps like there doesn't seem to be an end kind of to it, I think the brain fog, maybe it is just
Maybe a constant
collective brain
reawakening again and again and again
and again and again. Yeah. And speaking of awakenings, that's such a wonderful segue. Let's dig into the topic at hand, because I appreciate your expertise as a coach and just as a businesswoman, and as a woman, and a peer out there in the big world, a soul sister of
yeah,
sorts,
for
if I
sure.
can say, if I can be so bold. Mental fitness. We were talking as we were just getting in the same room together, that mental fitness seems to be a newish concept. Not that it's never been on the scene, but the word fitness and mental haven't seen each other. Mental awareness, mental health awareness has all been, hashtagging together and doing their
Mental
thing.
well-being,
Yep, all of that. But the mental fitness part, tell me your initial reaction to the
interesting
concept.
because you basically said, hey, here's that topic, how do you define it, how do you practice it, how do you support it? And it kind of stopped me short because I'm like, fitness. And being the little nerd that I am, I looked up the definition.
You
and so, of
Googled
course,
it.
the first one was fit and healthy, akin to physical fitness. And I'm like, yeah, well covered territory.
Yep.
But then there was a biological ability to survive and reproduce in a particular environment is fitness. And then this is the one that got me going, is fitness as in suitable to fulfill a particular task or role.
Ooh.
And that kind of started to take me down a rabbit hole of, because I think I often get caught in the feel good mental health. Oh, so that I'm happy, so that nothing bothers me, so that it's, as if I'm on Prozac or something, or Lexapro, that kind of mental health. But the fitness is, how is my mental state suitable to being a coach? How is it suitable to being as best a parent to my boy as I can be? How is it suitable to being a partner? How is it suitable to being a colleague? So all of a sudden that really takes me into a different direction of, I'm not just trying to lower my stress or anxiety, mental fitness. Yep. I am trying to hone, prepare, build capacity, and in order to be fit for what I'm doing in this world.
For what I'm doing in the moment.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
I know, cool.
That's cool. Nice work. We need to update the Wikipedia page with with your knowledge. But in all seriousness, though, something the in emotional intelligence, which I absolutely adore, studying and talking about, it all starts in self-awareness, as you know, and that ability to then self-manage before you ever take yourself out from your own self, right? Before I ever take myself out, let me get right with myself, right? So that when I can, so that, but then it's kind of chicken and egg, because the taking myself out is how I learn to become mentally fit. I go through the life occurrences to develop fitness, to develop the exercises that I need, you know, as the experiences roll in. It's kind of a,
Well, it makes me think of an infinity loop in a way
yeah,
of you've got to go in and out.
in and out of it.
It's not binary. It's not discrete and separated.
And then how would you then take it into, would you compartmentalize it into different types of, like, so those roles then become how you describe your or define your fitness plan?
Well,
Like,
it's
how
almost
do
like
you
what I'm
then,
aligning to. So
yeah,
if I think about physical fitness,
yep,
if somebody's going for the Olympics or a certain sport, they've got to hone or tune their body
yep,
for certain actions. So if a long distance runner is getting too bulky and they're lifting all the time, they're not the right kind of physically fit. So there's
yep,
so many types of mental fitness. So that intrigues me. Is not just a overarching sense of well-being, but am I getting mentally fit for the very things that I need to do? So it might not be a one size
it's
fits
not,
all. So
yeah,
think about, Natalie, mental fitness for a triage nurse,
yeah,
you know, versus mental fitness for a grandmother who's baking cookies for her 8 grandkids. I don't know what that's a weird, maybe it's because your grandmother.
no, but I totally get, I understand what you're
You
saying.
know, of what's the nature of your role and your task. The mental, I mean, for sure, the mental fitness for a young child, to take care of a young child, versus my
Yes,
almost
absolutely.
17-year-old, it's a different mental fitness. And sometimes I think sometimes my mental fitness, I'm playing with an old version that has not been brought up to date for
Wow, yeah,
today's task.
yeah, yeah. I keep going back to the concept of self-awareness and your core and your truth and your North Star and your true north, and all of this concept of your insides matching your outsides and congruence, so that when you step, so then you add the tools and you add them, so you stay unique, right? You stay in Amy, your potential is realized through this mental fitness as well, so that, you know, I mean, it's almost like chiropractic care. I have in my
Well, there's that alignment, right?
like, that's why I bring it up, because
Yeah.
it is fascinating how much power we have over our own bodies if we take care of it. It is fascinating.
But same deal with the mind, right?
That deal with the mind.
How much power do we have to set
Now
everything?
we're talking goosies. Yes.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
It is bonkers. And I think that's part of mental fitness is we're using this, as
This.
always, this tiny little slice
Yep.
of what our minds are capable of.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
to, you know, not just manifesting or intentions, but just to
be
change any experience at any moment and go, this is horrible, this is the worst thing ever, into, oh my God, I'm wide open and this was just the best thing.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I have been fired several times in my life, not as a coach so much, but back in my old corporate days and startup days. And, you know, worst of times and the best time ever, you know, these getting sober, you know, like fucking rock
Right.
bottom shit,
Yep. Yep.
best thing ever.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Now you nailed it. Yeah, that hit home. Well, the fitness part, I think, scared the concept of, gosh, my brain's going in a bunch of different directions because we've hit on a couple
Why I
of
love your
things.
brain.
The exercise part of it scares so many people. Why don't you we all know that we have more power. We all know we have more in us, and more like we intellectually hear ourselves, but I think what I realized I know where I was going with this, the physical mental connection was in the same way that a spine aligns. As soon as you start to align that, it is absolutely amazing laying on a table, a traction table, and opening up where I've been completely compressed into just digitally damaged, locked up pile of crazy, to go on traction and to feel your mental capacity expand.
Yeah.
Like as you're laying there, and open up your spine and literally give yourself a release of, just
Well, it is. It's
mental
unlock,
fatigue.
unleash,
Mental fatigue.
let loose.
The body keeps the score. The body keeps the score. And to actually feel it releasing like air out of a
But then
balloon.
that makes me think, what's the mental compression?
Yeah,
What's the
exactly.
analog there of course, the limiting beliefs, the inner critic, that literally is letting no air, no space. That's why, we're kind of moving in from defining into practicing.
Yeah.
And for me, becoming a coach, so the training to become a coach, and then the active coaching for 20 plus years now, that is the practice of mental fitness.
Yep.
People might look at me and go, oh, you're so unselfish. You're doing such good work in the world. And I'm always like, this is the most selfish work possible, because every time I coach, it's so good for me.
Yeah.
I'm practicing the mental fitness because I'm helping somebody else stretch, uncompress, let loose, let go, get the spinal fluid moving. So that they're being brilliant.
Yes. Get the parts of yourself talking so that you can operate as an entire system. Yes. So that you can heal yourself, so that you can become even more of yourself.
Well, that's to me is what it is being, so that you can be on purpose, you can be at full potential. I mean, because for me, that's what the growth is all about. It's not just growth for growth's sake. It's to that end, so that you can be and do your full self.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so the practicing for me is literally the active coaching. And, but just like with physical fitness, you can overdo, or you can be using poor form, with your exercises or your routine, or you can be overdoing on cardio and not doing enough strength for your bone, strength, all of that stuff. Same thing, even with coaching. I can be going through the motions, or I can be getting caught up going, do I have enough clients? Am I making enough money? And then, so it looks like I'm being mentally fit, but I'm being super unfit. So it cannot
Who
just
decides
be
that? Who decides? I mean, it's you, it's yourself.
It's me, but I was just working on that this morning with my coach. And I was using the analogy or the metaphor of like the shoals, the siren call that are getting me, to crash onto the rocks. It's like, the fear and the inner critic and the comparison and all that crap. And I told my coach, Andrew, I'm like, you're my lighthouse, babe. You what keep me from going the wrong direction. So, but as we are working on it, it's that sense of, for me, it's when it feels like it's starting to be hamster wheel. There's just a lot of that have to that's creeping in. and the urgency,
Mm-hmm.
the trying to keep bad things from happening, as opposed to that sense of, like you said, openness,
Mm-hmm.
flow for
Mm-hmm.
sure is a piece. If I am starting to get antsy, so I'm going to double down on going, well, I got to work harder. I got to coach harder.
Yep.
As opposed to it's trust, it's faith, it's flow. So it's definitely, it's a body sense, a felt
It is
sense.
a body sense. A mentor, a coach, a soul sister or brother or human, is, I think, imperative to have just as a mental, somebody.
That
Always.
is part of practicing.
Yeah, absolutely. An outlet, an ear, a space,
Well,
a
and that
safe space.
bouncing
Mm-hmm.
mirror to a certain extent, but I get lost in my own mind.
Absolutely. Yep.
Um,
And not and thinking that everybody can hear you, and they can't.
or understand you. And that's why, like you said, soulmate kind of thing is, and Natalie, this might be, we were saying, is everybody into this stuff that we're talking about? Does anyone care? Not everybody does, and not everybody needs to. But I have to have enough people around me who get it, who get what the hell I'm talking about. Because I hate being up on the surface in the shallows of just that makes me very unfit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So being able to go deep like this and run around, that's part of my mental fitness, is just this.
Right. Me too. Yeah. And I get pretty, I get pretty agity if I don't have it.
Yeah.
And
you said outlet.
It is. Yeah. And we have to kick our own butts into gear, and that's part of, okay. So we were talking earlier about, thinking out loud about just what fitness, there's a perception of resilience. There's a perception of recovery time. There's a perception of, that, yes, shit is going to hit the fan.
I really like the recovery piece of, like, thinking about that, with exercise, is that you still might get out of breath after so many pull-ups, but the recovery time keeps getting shorter.
Yep.
And so I like that with mental. I still might flip out with my husband.
Yep.
But the recovery time, oh, wait a minute, what did I just do? I don't know, Natalie, whether I'll ever, I'm a pretty, I'm a passionate person, but I'm a pretty reactive person. The only time where I'm not is when I'm coaching, because I've got my best suit on, my best self on, but like in my personal life, I can be really non-coachy. That's where the impulsivity and reactivity and some of my fight flight, kind of comes up. But if I can be shortening, that recovery time, or the self-awareness of, whoa, I just got super triggered, I just lost it. Come back faster. I hadn't thought of it until you mentioned recovery time, as that could be a new measure, success measure.
Right. Oh, yeah, that is
Am I zen? Am I always nice? Am I always wise and wonderful? Right. No. But am I shortening?
To the apology, to the owning, to the hard conversation I know I have to fucking have.
Going, ta-da! I was so wrong. I was a complete bitch. Because I spent a lot of my life feeling that being a bitch or messing up or losing my shit was so egregious. Then there is no recovery from that. Like, you're just bad. And as opposed to finding, and I think for women, especially when we're not nice, how do you own that instead of feeling, the shame? Of course, Brene Brown, can tell us all about it, but
hey, we got everybody here. We got everybody here. our own little Bibles. No, the well, mental fitness, the recovery concept tell it for me too, and we said this earlier, was that shit is going to happen. This isn't fa la la all about I got to figure out how to be happy. I got to figure out how to stay up, 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 up,
Well,
up.
then the toxic positivity, right? Like
Yes.
it's all about just being happy, happy, happy.
Right. No, I got
Mm.
ugly stuff. I mean, anybody that follows along on my social media can see it play out, getting okay with
You've
that
had
in my
some
own.
deeply authentic, naked posts of just, so real, so raw,
Trying to
Natalie.
figure it out. Yeah. And then having the voices, right? Like, what are you doing? Putting this out there for
No,
people to see.
what I often say with my clients is there's a difference between raw, needy, fucked upness. Sorry, I didn't ask if we can swear on here.
Oh, please do.
Versus strong authenticity,
Yeah,
strong vulnerability. To me, that's what you're putting out
I
there.
appreciate that.
Is it's coming from strength of here it is, and here's how I'm wrestling with it, because it invites other authenticity and vulnerability.
Well, and that,
You
yeah,
can't
I think
get there
think out loud
otherwise.
with me is that. Think out loud with me is that. Like, let's talk about shit that matters. Let's come off, yeah, the shallow side, and let's actually take care of each other.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, in the shallows, there's just not a lot of growth. You're sitting in waist deep water, like, and it might be warmer there, and
there's a lot of,
but the
but
depth is where the insights come.
it's the sticky stuff and the uncomfortable stuff and the bloody stuff and it is, but it's where, and I love, speaking of Brene, where she says, if you want to sit up in the nosebleeds and throw shit at me, go for it. When you get down here on the floor with me and look at this mental stuff and try and get through it and try and come up with ways to help people and create connection and community, then we can have a conversation about, like,
Yeah, because if you're outside looking in, and even, all the experts out there that are just talking about pieces or process or concepts, I'm not interested. I mean, I'll suck that in to use for myself, but I'm not interested in the academic exercise. I became a coach because I don't like theory without application.
Yes.
I remember when I was a new mom and I'd read all these parenting books. I'm like, okay, it's all good, but what about my problem that I'm having right now that doesn't quite fit into your freaking box? So I always have craved the individualization, and so that's part of mental fitness to me, is getting beyond theory. It's the practice, it's the work, it's the and this works, but that doesn't. But how would I do that? And mucking around.
Yeah. Well, because if you look too hard, I mean, I'm the algorithm has been working hard on me in my own, just hunger for information and hunger for mental health awareness tools, like I've just been so many different directions over the last number of months. And, you think about the way that if you read all the ads and you read all the, like, everybody's got the answer for you, right? The answers to me are fascinating. I have done, like one of my best friends, Andy, I mentioned Andy to you. Andy Burgess was a coach and friend of mine. She introduced me to the disc profile. And so I had done other, assessment, sales trainings and all that stuff, but this was the first time I'd really gotten into any kind of assessment with, it's not a right or wrong. This is a tie.
Right.
And it was so revealing to me to finally have an identity, excuse me, that worked, that it was me. It was more than horoscope, like, Oh, you're a Sagittarius. I can tell yours. It was like horoscopes on crack, because it was like you're a high ID, and man, I was like, I talk
Well,
with my
there's this
hands.
moment of relief almost
I've been seen.
of I'm not crazy. I'm supposed to be this way. And there's a million, to me, it was, whether it's DISC or whether it's Strength Finder or
Mm-hmm.
Myers-Briggs or
Yep. Human
emergenetics,
design.
human design, love human design, Enneagram.
Yes.
There's so, to me, they're all, it's like religions. There's a million different
Yeah.
paths to
Yeah.
God. There's a
Yeah.
million different portals into self,
Yep.
different parts of the prism or the diamond, and
Yep.
looking from different angles. And it is revelatory.
Yeah. Yeah. It can also be paralyzing if you do too many of them.
Well, yeah, but this is where, I again, why I love coaching, because it gets beyond the theory. It gets beyond,
Yeah.
all right, when does the looking at your profiles end up being navel gazing?
Yeah.
And getting caught like Narcissus, by looking at the reflection.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when is it, no, we've got enough.
Yep.
Now what do you want to use it for?
Yeah. Yeah. I was
What are
on
you
a call
doing with that profile?
Yeah. I was on a call this morning with some business women, and a lady spoke about the 3 types of knowledge: learning knowledge, consuming it, right? Activity knowledge,
Doing
and then teaching knowledge.
and what they use at my son's school, it's like learning, doing, making meaning.
Love it.
And
Yes.
the highest pinnacle. And I think that's exactly,
Mm-hmm.
I like all of it, but what I want to get to for
Mm-hmm.
myself, for my clients, for my family is, are we going up to the highest? Are we making meaning? Are you on purpose? Are you doing your own special meaning in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Or because the self-growth stuff, the personal growth stuff can be, you could spend the rest of your life consuming,
Absolutely.
never getting around to the doing or the making meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so you can do too much of muscle milk. I'm trying to come up with something.
Yeah. Right.
You can OD on muscle milk, and you can,
again, to what end? What's it? And what's it pointing to? What's it aimed at?
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about, purpose and North Star. And that, I think, is an important part of mental fitness, just as in physical fitness. It's so much better when it's towards this goal. It's towards this goal of winning that race, or it's towards this goal for my mom of still being able to get up from her chair unassisted. There's for a little kid, it's, so that they can walk and run, their fitness or evolution. So I'm not ever worried about, is the goal lofty enough for somebody? Right. But do you have one?
Yes.
Natalie, where do you think your mental fitness is aimed?
Ooh. I think daily around my insides matching my outsides. And that is several aspects of my life. That's my mental fitness is how it relates directionally with my family, being the most being a mother, a fit mother, that's critical to me. How I am available for that. You were talking earlier about the roles we play, and being able to be, well, this is where we were going with core and North Star, was the concept of be, do, have, right? That we are at our very center, being ourselves, and that I've worked my mental fitness direction is to continue to erase layers that get in the way of me being mentally, spiritually, physically the best that I can possibly be. Am I trying to run the Horsetooth half marathon? No, I'm not trying to be like that. That's not what the fitness is. I want to be, I do want to be happy. I can be happy in the craziest situations.
Well, and I think that's the kind of happiness I'm interested in too with mental fitness, is not the receding horizon of trying to get everything in order to be so that I can be happy, but it is that happiness amidst the storm, happiness amidst it's
the middle way.
Happy. It's I am alive. I am wanting to be here. I am not trying to get out of what is
right.
It is the damn presence, acceptance, surrender. Now we're talking a lot of AA pieces of that. Misery is trying to not be where you are. And
part of it is I have a pseudo, I call him my nephew. He is my nephew. He taught me this young, brilliant brain, Gabe, the middle way, and this concept, right? That, and I think about it on my magic carpet ride, which everybody laughs like, are you on? No, if I can just get in a place where instead of impacts, bush, right? That, which has been even so much of it was in control. It was a lot of impact, right? Some of my own choosing, some not my own choosing. And to be able to get to a place where I nudge up against something and, it doesn't send me catapulting,
careening across the floor.
I feel it, I absorb it, I do, and I move. And it, to me, when I find that place, certain things start happening. And then the concepts of one thing leads to another. Things start pulling into line, and opportunities and phone calls and things happen when I know I'm working towards that.
And that's the resilience that we keep coming back to, and capacity to not get thrown off. But and then you equate mental to the physical, and of course it's a little more rubbery. It's a little, there's a looseness to it. It's definitely not rigid and holding tight, because that is such mental fragility. There's the fragility is don't say anything that isn't what I want to hear. Don't do anything. Can't handle it.
Yep.
That's not fit.
No.
Like it's not a narrow tunnel. It is as wide as possible.
I would say that the society loves it that way. I go back to my chiropractor, and that's where I learned. I already knew it, but that's where I actually listened to somebody talk about the concept of, and he does it it's the wellness illness spectrum. And I can't remember the originator, a doctor, but it's this red-green graph with arrows, and there's a yellow part in the middle, and that's neutral. And it's all about, for me, it's visual. I face left, and this is illness. This is a state of illness. This is, at the far end is disease and death. In the middle end, which is where most of us play, is in multiple medications, multiple ailments, not sure what's connected to what, can't ever quite get our appointments lined up to keep track of it all. Sound familiar, right? And that's where money's made, right?
So much money is made by disconnect, by not finding. So I was just coaching someone this morning, and they have a bunch of different goals and different issues. And it was our first session. And, you know, my instinct always is to dive underneath and to go, okay, but what's one of the things that will cut across and align, you know, kind of take care of everything with one shot. You know, I love dominoes. I love pulling a thread, because if I stayed up there, up on the shallow of like, all right, let's fix this, and then we'll try to fix that. And then it's like, you're just dabbling. You're doing small shit. But getting down to, and so with health, we know this, that you can go to 10 different doctors treating all your different symptoms. Nobody's going down to, oh, you know what? You've got iron imbalance, and that's manifesting in 10 different ways. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
But it includes that.
And so that's holistic. That's why chiropractic can be so effective, because it's just restoring flow and function. And Natalie, I'm kind of tripping out. My father passed away at the end of 20, but he was a chiropractor the last time
know
of his life. At 50, he became a chiropractor.
Did he really? Because he believed in it so much, because it changed his life.
Because it helped him, and he wanted to.
That's why ours is Dr. Ryan. I'm going to have him on. I have goosies.
But I feel like my dad is
so cool,
smiling right now, and he's like loving this conversation, and he's like, yes.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, no, he, like, Dr. Ryan was, I came to him at the end because I was done with the job that I just ended back in November. I was just not in great shape, and I literally walked into him. I had always had I grew up with chiropractic, and I'd always appreciated it. I took my baby to him, or not to Dr. Ryan, but to chiropractic, who Dr. Dom would just take one little tap on Cody's spine, and Cody would fill his diapers. It got to the point where Cody would poo as we were walking into the office. I'm like, I don't need to be charged for this visit, do I? He needs to go be changed, right? He'd just walk in and be like, But so yeah, when I came out of this last little dig that I did, I just had got myself wound up, and it took him, I was going 4 times a week. These x-rays just rocked my world looking at him, but he is such a wonderful man. He does workshops, and he just educates the heck out of people. And the first one I went to was this wellness illness spectrum, and it just clicked. It's like, what direction am I facing?
So I love that. Will you say more? So is it, because I haven't heard this particular take, is it that you can be in one spot, but depending which way you're looking, it could be illness, or it could be,
you could go, depend. So the direction facing is my own way of interpreting this. Let me show you this really quick, and then I'll take it down. This is the concept. So this is what Dr. Ryan had on his screen. So I'm imagining myself here, right? And so this is the normal treatment paradigm, right? This is the standard of care that we all go with, right? Is we're facing this way. And so we show signs of something, and the first thing we do, we go off into the medication side of things, as opposed to showing signs. Oh, I've got awareness. Oh, so this concept of which direction you're facing, this is so much money to me. It screams money.
Well, that's where all the money's made, for sure. I mean, there's some money made to the right.
There's money made here. Absolutely.
But a lot more money.
A lot more money here. Still in our favor, right? So
that is so interesting to me, because I'm all into that, also from the sense of you take a sign and go, oh, that must mean I'm heading that way, as opposed to it's just a sign. Where do you want to take it? Where do you want to go with it? What energy do you want to put? So at the beginning of COVID, now not so hard to figure it out, I started to have vertigo for the first time, and pretty serious vertigo. And of course, I'm like, do I have a brain aneurysm? Do I have some kind of inner ear imbalance? And no doubt there are physical aspects to it. But what I finally came to is like, yes, I'm feeling very unstable because my husband's job just went away, in initial lockdowns. My whole business was turned upside down. We're all, my son is home from, at that time, middle school, like, no shit, it was really unstable. No wonder I was feeling like I couldn't find my balance. But of course I went left. I went and had an MRI, and I went and got medication, anti-nausea, because I got so freaked out.
Yeah.
But if I had turned the other way more quickly of interesting, curious, what's up with that? What's going on, babe?
Yeah.
And so I came to that later, but it took me a while, even though I know better that a lot of times my physical is directly tied to mental.
Yeah. I've been swimming in the illness end.
In the left.
I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Take my money. Want some money?
Right.
I mean, swimming in it.
And even I have a genius chiropractor as well, who, I call her my body whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
But it often, a lot of times she'll do beautiful work and I'll feel good for like 2 hours. And by the next day, everything is back to where it was. And so I keep going, but I know it makes, when do we want to hold on to our symptoms? Why do we hold on to our symptoms? What else are the symptoms wanting if we can't just be, quote, fixed? And it doesn't, an adjustment doesn't hold, or you go in for some other kind of treatment, but it doesn't hold. That's an area that I'd like to play more with.
Yeah.
Same way when I have a client and they keep patterning, what else is going on? What else is the benefit of that pattern? So that's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down.
Absolutely.
Why do we cling sometimes to our dis-ease, our dysfunction? And to me, again, that's part of mental fitness.
That is an entirely new episode.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's do it. I mean, this concept, because that's what I was just thinking as you were thinking. I'm like, oh my gosh, we should talk like 4 or 5 more times, because you honestly, it is a new concept. My grandfather would be like, what is the use in all of this? Right. I know he would come on board. He would listen. He would be very interested in what we were doing, but it would be like, but if you really do think about how far we've come, we have come a long way in destigmatizing the conversations about the voices in our heads being real and okay, and everybody has them, right? And the fact that I never thought, man, 20 years ago that I would ever be talking about my panic attacks or the stuff the hospital stays. You don't talk about that kind of stuff, right? You like, that's like, and now it's lived experience that is back to that teaching knowledge, right? That was the activity knowledge gained, so that there's now teaching knowledge to be shared. And I think there's a lot of folks, where I was going with this is obviously it's ripe timing for us to be talking about mental fitness. It's not a second too soon. It's come from, I think, the acceleration of that COVID produced of everything.
Definitely a forcing function on every level.
Yep. But I believe very, very wholeheartedly that, and I'll just speak for myself, that I've come into a place where I feel ready to help. I wasn't ready to help 20 years ago, right? But I feel like the more I connect with people that are talking about mental fitness and they're thinking about it and they're in any way, shape, or form open to to doing any of that, that there's really good folks, like the folks that are floating up that need the help, like we got you,
Yeah.
like there's a shift in who's needed, some folks bubbling up with stories of their own that really serve, to help folks. And so I think that is a part of just connecting with you, because you've got such cool stories of your own. And
But that kind of hits us because we did do those three pieces you gave me: define, practice, and now we're really talking about support.
Yep.
Of what's the community
Yep.
that supports this mental fitness, not just your entourage model of, here's all my people that I pay money to keep me sane.
Right.
It is, no, here's my community.
Yep.
Here's the learning that I continuously do, continuous education. Here are the people that I surround myself with that are bringing me up higher. So that's the kind of support, is not just how many helpers I have, but it's, like my coach, we take turns every other week. It's a reciprocal, I really like that model sometimes. I love
that. That's beautiful.
Trading the baton, so that it's not all about how many people are on the payroll.
Yep.
It's how many people are you connected to that are symbiotic, that are reinforcing your mental fitness.
Yep. Where you are
like having a good gym. It's a little bit like your CrossFit community or something, but it's, this is the people that call you out and say, no, we can do better. We're not going to gossip and tear up people down for the next 2 hours. We're building up.
Yep.
So I like the idea of mental fitness support.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a wonderful, we came together as a county and passed a sales tax that sets aside money that is specifically to be used for behavioral health services. And just within a mile of my home right here, they're building this beautiful center, behavioral health center that is national standards type stuff, where it'll be a continuum of care. So someone can come in and be treated from the very minute and there will be someone that will take them in whatever direction they need to and hold their hand and make sure that they get care for behavioral health, from the front to the back. There's beds, and then there's advocates that work through. It's going to be amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And where it's come, right, you would have to commit a crime to get mental health help. And then if you committed the crime, you'd go over to another county because everything's packed. So this community came together and said, and it was incredible. It was an incredible showing. And it's growing out. It's going to be against the Colorado sky, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I again, back to, just how far we've come, and that if we've come this far, how far we will go, and talking about finding support and talking more about it and creating podcasts, thinking out loud with me. I'm not talking to myself anymore about any of this. You asked me, what are you up to? But when we first got on, I don't want to talk to myself about this stuff anymore. I want to think out loud with other people. Like the voices I got, I know.
Well, there's the generative, there's the, and it's not just, teaching, making meaning, it's ultimately making a difference. For as many people as we can.
Absolutely. You made a difference in my life. You impacted me many years ago, and I'm glad we've kept in touch. I don't say that as sounds canned. It's not canned. I mean that.
I hear that. And right back at you again. Our work together is part of what brings me to full purpose and keeps me fit, keeps saying this is how it works. And so it is a beautiful, self-fulfilling, refilling process. Right. And I think that's, when we're at right purpose, it's easy. It flows, it regenerates.
Yeah.
And so, I'd like to see as many people as possible use their mental fitness to make a difference.
Yes.
Because it just builds on each other then.
Mm-hmm.
And the world gets to be a much better place.
And I believe that it can. I do. I believe so. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing time with me.
So my pleasure. Do this all day long, right? So fun.
If you're like are you still in like total rebuild mode? What are you up to?
No, like if people want to find me, the growthmoment.com.
I'm just fascinated.
Got
You're
a whack
so
of
talented.
where I coach people on the podcast. Sometimes
That's
they're
fun.
solo episode tools. Yeah, I have a blast doing that. I've got monthly workshop that you can find on that website of, the next one that's coming up is Inner Critic 101. And selfishly, I just pick topics that I feel like doing. And a bunch of people come, men, women, all ages and stages, and just grow together for an hour.
I love it.
Those are lovely, and then of course my regular coaching services. So I'm always happy to hear from somebody and where they're growing and going.
Yes. Yes. Well, I consider myself lucky to know you and to be able to holler at you and say, hey, will you be my guest and
anytime
think out loud with me? I sometimes get, it's amazing to me, some of the people that I know, and I'm humbled by the folks that when I ask, they say yes. It's amazing to recognize the support, that's available out there. You're tremendous. I've got tremendous people in. I'm
who
excited.
wouldn't want to think out loud with
right?
Natalie?
Who doesn't want to think out? Like, it's just do it. It's harmless. Thank you, Amy.